Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Riker Maneuver here at Pop Culture Renegades. My name is Samuel Locke, and this asshole is...
Yeah, I'm Josh, I guess just asshole. It's Commander asshole, Captain asshole.
Unfortunately, he does outrank me in assholishness and in this place. But that's beside the point. Today's episode, see Vis Pacem. Do we know what that means? Is that
I can find out. If I'm too loud, guys, let me know. Last week, someone was telling me that I was too quiet, so I jacked things up just a little bit. So yeah.
And if you don't know, I'm drinking tonight. He's gonna be my sober driver. Oh, goodness. So this episode, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was as thrilling as last episode. I liked last episode a lot.
I thought last episode was a lot better than this episode. This episode was still good. This was still like a classic Trek type story.
Don One says it's much better than last week's episode. I don't know. I
don't know. I thought. I'm torn.
I think I know the reason why people didn't like last week's episode. I think the big deal is that when time episodes are like the best. I feel like are the best parts of Star Trek, but this one, like being stuck in a time loop, I don't think it was all that great in terms of like time episodes could be.
Yeah, I mean, for me that was like one of those classic Star Trek tropes.
Oh no, it's very classic, but it's not.
And I thought they handled it very well and updated it for a new modern type of audience. But I liked last week. I think I'd go on record to say that I liked last week's episode better than a lot of the previous episodes. I don't know that I'm going to say all of them, but definitely better than a lot of them.
Well, no, as far as last week's episode, I mean, we'll get to this week's episode in a bit, but last week's episode, I find it was very classic. And again, you have Rainn Wilson killing it. It was very classic, but I think there is a little bit of mark that was missed. Just a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. So, backing up for just a second.
Yes.
CV, I'm going to say it's V, not Viz, Pacem Bellum, is Latin, obviously, and is translated as, if you want peace, prepare for war.
Ooh,
which
like
makes
that.
A lot of sense within the
like
context of the episode.
Oh, so Don One says he doesn't like Mud character, which... How dare you?
Wait. Now, do you not like the Mud character in general, or do you not like the way Rainn Wilson portrayed the Mud character? Because that is a little bit of a difference.
As far as there being 9 episodes, it's only the mid-season. They're going to take a little break and then come back next year in January.
Six episodes, right?
Is it 6? Is it 9 by 6?
It's either another 5 episodes or another 6 episodes.
I think it's another 6.
I want to say it's another 6. I think there were 15 total.
Which, by the way, good news, if you guys haven't heard already, they are picking Star Trek up for the second season, which means it must have gotten good enough to at least get the second season.
You're right, Don Juan. Next week is the mid-season break, not the season finale.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So, anyway, continuing on kind of with the stuff going on in this episode, I felt like it was more of a filler episode than the normal, not necessarily action-packed, but...
I don't know that I would say it was a filler I mean, it was kind of a filler episode, but it was also sort of the setup for what's going to be happening in the mid-season finale.
Yes.
And that also kind of answers the question of whether there is going to be like a mid-season cliffhanger finale type thing.
Of course there will be.
Well, no, because originally this week's episode was supposed to be the end of the fall season.
Right.
So I guess this episode would have worked. Because, well, no, at the end of the episode, so sorry guys if I'm jumping way ahead here to the end of the episode just to complete my thought on this, but at the end of this episode, we had the Klingons coming in, and they were bracing for some kind of fight.
Because the Pahvos wanted to...
Pahvos
wanted to talk peace, which is what they're used to, not understanding the context, which seems a little weird because they basically read Saru's brain. I mean, we'll get to it. I don't want to spoil everything right away.
Right. But so this episode would have worked as a mid-season finale because it left off in what could be, a very suspenseful place with the Klingons coming in. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if they're going to attack. They're just getting ready. The Discovery is getting ready for whatever that conflict is going to be.
So I actually find the moving of like an extra episode into the mid-break a little weird. Like you don't really see that
because now we don't know how that next episode is going to end because for all it appears from our end, it seems like this, like I said, this would have been a good place for it to stop. So how is the
I
next
get.
episode going to end?
Well, I guess my question to you is why do you think that CBS or Paramount or whoever the hell else would move another episode over rather than their logical cliffhanger to be? Why would you think they move that over?
It could be a number of different reasons. It could be financial. Like maybe they thought that maybe moving an additional episode up would give them people sticking into the streaming service longer. It could just be logistical. Like maybe they watched that next episode again. They were like, you know what, this is a better place to end the season. Maybe it was scheduling. They decided that the week that it was going to end with 7 episodes on the other side wasn't a good place because there's something else going on that following weekend. There's a lot of different reasons why it could be.
And with them kind of saying, hey, we're going to go ahead with season 2, do you think that it's a success?
Yeah, Brian, we're actually shooting in a comic book store in Manhattan Beach. So the other people that you hear talking in the background are the other people that are here in the store.
Should I be like?
So I mean, we can't quiet them down. It's a store.
Sure. Okay. So minus the talking in the background, I think we're doing okay.
But if that talking gets a little bit too loud and you can't hear us, let us know. But yeah, that you shouldn't be able to actually distinctly hear those conversations. If you hear distinct conversations, that means that there's something weird going on with my computer. Definitely let me know about that.
Anyway, so we definitely have the clearance for season 2. I'm not entirely sure that it's. The thing is, I can't label it necessarily a success yet. I want to, like Star Trek, like this Star Trek. It's good enough to stand out on. We've already discussed this in length, but I'm wondering, are they using the second season as more of a, we'll see what happens, or a, hey, this is getting numbers, let's keep it going?
See, I'm not sure because going into the next season, we don't know like where the storyline is going to end. See, you can hear them. All right, I will see what we can do to fix that.
Quiet on set, please. We can hear you. Thank you. We got it. Thanks. Anyway,
hopefully that will help. So going up to Don's comment here. Can we assume Ash is a spy now? The female Klingon brought up having a spy. Her albino Klingon friend has been missing for a while now. So I'm still not sure. I'm still borderline with that because
talking about the one who's like, I want to defect, right?
Right. No, not that one. The albino one. That remember a few episodes they sent Volk away.
Yeah.
And they were like, you're gonna go get this treatment. And we haven't seen him since then. We don't know what's going on with that guy. But so that's the theory, is that's who Ash actually is.
Right. I remember talking about that a little bit a couple weeks ago.
Right. But now, I don't know if you guys have been following the Ash is the same actor as that actor thing, but online, it looks like it's actually been determined that is a completely different actor now.
Yes, which, hey, there's so many internet sleuths out there and a lot of conspiracies. They're not going to be right 90% of the time. But hey, yeah. for you 10%, I salute you.
But you know what? That one made sense. Like,
no, it did.
Like, for a long time. And when he responded to it, and he just didn't deny it. He was like, "Look, this guy has an IMDb page, so it's got to be a different person, right?" He didn't say it wasn't him.
Right. Goodness. I want to talk about a little bit of the beginning of the episode. So, it's just one little thing I noticed. It was the brightest we've ever seen the bridge. It was this super cool bright red, huey kind of thing. Because the thing is, the bridge itself is it's like dark. It's not your next generation type. And it's like super cool in the sense that like I actually get to see the bridge for a change.
Right. I'll see if I can pull this up for you guys.
It's like at the very, very beginning.
Just a second. It was, and it was weird because what's his name? Lorca had been talking about the fact that like he's very light sensitive, so he needs things a little bit dimmer. So having it be that bright was a little bizarre. Here we go.
Just like scroll just a little bit over. So we have this.
So here I'm just gonna play a few seconds of this here, so you guys can see what I mean. He's still dim. It's still not too bright where he is, but it is a lot.
Like look at that!
It is a lot brighter.
Can you pause that right there? Just a few frames back.
Yeah, give me a second.
Derpy.
The way this works is bizarre.
So we have this super bright thing, and it's the first time we've actually seen I would say the cockpit in full because they do due diligence, because that's a weird thing to say, in keeping things blue and black. That's kind of all of your bridge. It's the first time where we see them at like red alert, full, like they're actually in battle.
It's going to be a pain to do that, but you guys saw what it looked like.
So you got two ships versus the 6 Klingons, which why why would you do that? And then they're after this ship, I think we only got the name once of the other ship, which I don't think ultimately matters. Otherwise, they'd say it a million times in the episode. And so they said, okay, fuck this, they're done, we're out. And that's such a, I don't know, I feel like it was such a random place to start at.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of last week's episode, there wasn't anything leading into it, so it was just kind of a, okay, now we're in battle.
You're right, and so like going into battle, like I don't get me wrong, I always appreciate Star Trek battles because it's so well paced. The one thing that Star Trek does better than any sci-fi anywhere in the history of ever, it's like you're in this battle, but it's like it's paced in a certain way where it's like it's slow, it's deliberate. Every action means something.
Yeah, although this episode specifically, I felt like this episode moved a lot slower than
the beginning.
Than the beginning. Also, a lot slower than last week's episode, and even the episode before that. Like it was kind of like a slow build.
Well, that's how Star Trek has always been. They've always had these like very, no, I wouldn't say slow battles, but every movement they do means something, which matters, and which is really the heart of Star Trek, where it's like, we have a problem. How do we deal with it? We have 20 people on the bridge or whatever. They all do something, and you just hear the captain yelling orders here and there and everywhere. And that's what we saw today, where it's like, I need you to do this. Come over here. I need you to do evasive maneuvers over here. I love that. It's like the best parts of the.
Have you seen going kind of sort of off topic? Have you seen Star Trek Bridge Commander?
I have not.
So Star Trek Bridge Commander is a VR Star Trek game where you are on the bridge I'm pretty sure it's the Enterprise, and you and your team just work the bridge of the ship.
That is honest.
I have a Galaxy Gear, and it's not available for the phone based version, but eventually I'm supposed to be getting Zeiss has a thing out that's supposed to be able to stream Steam games from your computer to your mobile phone.
Steam to mobile phone to.
Yeah, so you put your mobile phone, like your Galaxy Gear, in the headset, and it streams from the computer via USB. So it's basically just using your phone as a secondary screen.
Right. Cool.
So if they actually send it to me, I'm really excited for it, because that's one of those games that I really want to play.
I'm hoping that ends up being the case, because we'll if we get this Galaxy Gear
I'll stream some of the stuff.
We'll do like a special Riker maneuver where him and I will be captain and first. You're first. Sorry, you're gonna be first in this.
I'm number one.
You're number one, baby.
I'm number one.
Yes, you can be the Riker in the maneuver, and I'll be the maneuver.
No, I don't know. Nope.
Anyway, moving on from that. So we have Stamets. Oh my goodness!
Like right now, he is the most interesting thing to me about this show.
He is the most interesting thing about the show,
because last week he was like all happy and giddy, and he was like, yeah, we're all being killed over and over and over again, and
he's like,
I'm not in the
no big fucking deal,
And then this week he was back to being like that super cranky,
the dick we saw in episode 1,
and until he pointed that out. And he came out. He's like, look, I don't know what's happening to me. Sometimes I'm just not here, and I don't know what's going on.
And that's such a strange thing to think about, where it's like, sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm not, and I just can't help but think to myself, like, if you're not here, what's replacing you? And
or anything, like he it could just be like an OBE, like he could just be like going out of body, and
well, that's just it. Like, I think his brain, like, or whatever, like when he got injected, he's got temporal issues where it's like sometimes it's me, sometimes a different version of me from like the past to the present or the future. I think it's always him.
Well, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's temporal, because
it has to be temporal. It has to be temporal.
No, I mean, not. It could be dimensionally. You
I
know,
mean, that's partially.
or
Well, that's still temporal. Like,
temporal is time. Dimensionally isn't necessarily time because you could be in the same time in a different
I mean,
dimension.
that's like time plus space, so it's like half.
It's yeah.
But the thing is, like, imagine if you will, like maybe like as he's zooming out, maybe like another version from him in like a different time frame or a different universe comes in and takes his place. Like,
But see, that's the thing. We don't know how these tardigrades actually function. We don't know how they travel from one place to another within the spore network. Which another thing that we saw for the first time this episode was how his things actually.
Yeah, he gets
work.
like the heroin injection
Yeah.
or whatever. And like that's also fascinating. But like mainly his personalities, I want to know if it's him or a different time of him or a different dimension of him. There's so much we don't know about what his character is going to be.
I think
wow, what a fucking cool thing.
Personally, I think he's just as the DNA gets more and more embedded in his system, I think he's just being more absorbed into the spore network. So maybe he's seeing, all these things happening at once, and it's hard for him to stay concentrated in just one specific place.
Sure. Well, my question then becomes, it's like, we saw OG Stamets just hanging out today. Like, is he fighting himself, or is he just like sharing body in like kind of like a dissociative identity personality, but dealing with more or less space and time? Like,
right. Well, I mean, another thing that we don't know is because like this hasn't been visited on since it happened, but you remember at the end of the episode where they were brushing their teeth, we had the after image of him in the mirror. So we don't know what that was all about yet either.
Well, the thing is, we knew something changed, like something legit changed, and now we're seeing the effects of that change. My question is I want to know how many episodes we have to go in before we kind of know what happens. Like today, like this episode was the first time
I don't think we're gonna find out until at least the end of the season, if it's even resolved this season.
Well, no, the thing is, because of Spore Drive, they want to keep Spore Drive as long as humanly possible in the lexicon of the series. So I'm gonna guess we're not gonna know until maybe the end of season 2.
Maybe. I mean, we don't even know how long the Spore Drive thing is going to go on for.
Well, no, the thing is, the Spore Drive is stable for now as far as a plot point. But
it's, I mean, only as long as they can keep using Stamets as the navigator for it.
Right.
If they find out that he's going to die because of it, they're going to stop. I mean,
well,
Lorca might want to continue using him, but I think his doctor/boyfriend is going to step in there.
Well, I don't think he's going to die. I think what will end up happening is these time and space people that he ends up being at time to time are all going to converge into one, because they're all being called at pretty much all the time to move the ship.
Right. Well, or the question is, will he be able to start doing that on his own? Like, will he be able to like
Q power type things?
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily Q, but just like be like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna travel the Spore Network and just leave and go do my own thing.
That would be
that would be interesting. And I mean, I guess that could be a way to bring Q into it. Like, he could come in and be like, all right, you guys are not supposed to have these powers.
What if the Spore Network is part of the Q unknowingly, and they bring that in like season 2? That would be genius. At least that'd be so genius.
Another race. I mean, I don't think they're gonna bring John Delancey in. It would have to be another person as Q, which would be interesting. So okay,
no, that'd be fun.
Okay, so I
wouldn't mind that at all.
So quick fan casting. If they brought Q back, who would you like to see cast in that role?
I actually already have an answer for that. It's the guy in Step Brothers. What's his name?
John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly would play an excellent Q. He would be an amazing Q. He'd be so good.
I think he's a little bit too, because I think they would want to get someone who
they've already got Rainn Wilson in there.
Right.
Saying,
But like James Frain is like a good Sarek because he kind of looks the role with all the makeup on. So I think they would want to get someone who looks a little bit closer to John.
Well, no, he kind of looks like him. B, like Q is a group of individuals that kind of ascend time, space, and everything else.
Well, there are a bunch of different Qs, so he could be a Q, but not necessarily the Q that
not the exact Q from TNG, but a Q.
Right.
Yes, such a good Q.
I'm saying the Q, the John Delancey Q. If we wanted to bring him,
we wanted the John,
who would you cast as him?
Ooh, that's a good. We would need a very strong character actor who isn't Rainn Wilson.
Right, and it would need to be someone who's probably in their like 40s.
Well, that's it.
30s, 40s.
Like character actors are really hard to come by nowadays. Like, if I had to pick somebody,
Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard.
It's a hard choice,
because
right?
they don't exist anymore. They're far and few between. The only person I could think of that would even be remotely interesting in the regard would be
Oh, Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane.
That's. I mean, he's busy on the Orville, but
that would blow so many minds.
that would be. I mean, that would be a good choice.
I hate to say it, it's kind of a good choice, but it's not like. I mean, it's a good choice, but it's also like the worst choice.
Yeah. Although, like, he has to be like super eccentric too, and like, whereas Seth MacFarlane more has that like dry sarcasm.
Right.
It's more.
Maybe
Not as flamboyant.
You know what? Maybe, and I'm throwing out on a limb. Anthony Head.
Anthony Head.
I know the name sounds relatively
like from
unfamiliar.
Buffy.
Yes, and also Repo the Genetic Opera. If you ever watched it, I think he'd be a great.
I think he's too old now.
What about?
He's probably about the same age
as
John Delancey.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
That
could work.
Sacha Baron Cohen would be a good choice.
He'd be a great Q.
Or David Tennant.
Oh, David. Motherfucking Tennant.
No.
Simon Pegg.
John Barrowman.
I was gonna Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg would be good too.
Simon Pegg would be
I think John Barrowman would be like a fantastic choice.
Well, imagine this
because he has that flamboyance, he has that seriousness. I think he can.
If you get Simon Pegg or Nick Frost, doesn't matter, same universe. If you got Simon Pegg though, you'd be able to connect the JJ universe on top of it. And the thing is, he did Doctor Who. He's done Star Trek.
I mean, like logistically though, they wouldn't do that just because of his connection with the JJ movie universe. Like, I don't think you're gonna see anyone from the movies that were in a major role in the TV show.
You even mentioned the word crossover. Everyone rolls their eyes because it's never gonna happen.
Yeah, but no, I'm going with officially John Barrowman. That's my choice.
Okay. My choice actually, I feel like David Tennant would probably be the best Q for multiple generations.
Yeah.
Like that was a good.
Yeah, he'd be a good choice too. Yeah. All right, so let's get back to the episode.
Yes, right. Sorry guys, we got. I want to talk about Saru's abilities because these are something.
Saru got like this was like a really heavy Saru episode.
Yes,
Saru.
I don't. Where we get Saru from? Is it? I swear we've heard that more than once.
Yeah, I think people. I think there's people on the show that are saying it.
We're gonna call that the Mandala effect for now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, whether you call him Saru or Saru. We got to see some of his alien abilities today.
Yeah, like running
really
80 kilometers an hour.
Yeah,
that's what 40 miles an hour.
No, you got to go 8x5. So,
or is it faster?
No, like kilometers for every 8, you got to go 5. So it's about 50.
Okay. 50 miles an hour.
50 miles an hour, which is still ridiculously crazy fast. The thing is, Doug Jones is 6'6", right, or some crazy tall, lanky. If you see a 6'6" tall, 50-mile-an-hour alien coming at you full speed, I don't care if you're skinny. I don't care if you're a bitch. That's terrifying.
Oh yeah,
that's a terrifying.
That guy, and like I said, if his threat ganglia are like kind of like out, like that would be like Zoidberg just like running at you.
Yes, like dude, you just took the words right out of my mouth. It's basically Zoidberg running at you full speed, but
that's
skinny
scary.
and not crazy. Oh, dude, like. Watching him move was kind of crazy, and he was doing the Star Trek double fist that you shouldn't do in real life, which is kind of neat.
Right. Moving out of Saru for just a second, we'll come back to Saru. Brian and Don were talking about the Klingons above, and Don asked, was anybody else annoyed that the Klingons had to decloak to fire their weapons? Hasn't that always been a thing though? Like they could target their weapons while they were cloaked, but didn't they have to decloak to fire?
I think there were a couple instances in TNG where they didn't. Other than that, for the most part, I think they had to decloak in order to fire.
Because from my understanding, while they were cloaked, they couldn't have their shields on, and they weren't able to fire.
Well, yeah, they couldn't have the shields on in order to. I know that for a fact, but like to cloak, I think it's been kind of on and off.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean the thing is, if you have a cloaked bird of prey smashing down on whatever,
or is it that as they're cloaking they can't have their shields on, but after they're cloaked they can? Because I remember specifically either in one of the TNG movies or an episode of the show they forced a Klingon ship to cloak, and that's how they got the shields to go.
I know that there's a particular drawback when it comes to being cloaked. We can be cloaked, but then this happens. It's either they can't fire or they can't have shields.
Yeah,
one of the two.
I think it's both. but I'm not positive.
I think it depends on the episode, to be honest.
I mean, that could be the case too.
Needless to say, this cloaking ability is brand new. I don't know if it's exactly prime timeline. I feel like.
I mean, yeah, it could be a different version of, because obviously they're changing things. We know that from the way the Klingons look. So this could be that they've adjusted the way cloaking works as well.
Right. Well, I mean, they're adjusting a lot of things that don't exactly mess with that mess with the TNG timeline and the deep space and pretty much anything beyond. And we've talked about this a little bit. One of the online things is that it's part of the Kelvin timeline, which probably would make more sense.
That's right. That was the climate. That was at the end of Generations, where they forced it to cloak.
Right.
And Star Trek VI was the Undiscovered Country, which was all about the Klingons. I don't remember. I've only seen that movie like once or twice, so I don't remember that one so well.
Right.
Let's get back to Saru.
Right.
Let's get back to Saru.
Getting back to Saru. So, writing down his abilities, he can move 80 kilometers an hour top speed, which we saw in the show, and he can detect danger at 10 kilometers max.
So what kind of danger is it exactly that he's detecting, and how like biologically, how would that exactly work?
Okay, so we actually saw it work in this show where his brain was on fire because everything's just talking around him because everything he saw was essentially a danger. So 10 kilometers worth of danger.
So is it that he's hearing things, or is it like a sense?
He's hearing and he's feeling things at the same time, which is why he's like, "Yo, you motherfuckers!"
So maybe like a certain level of like ESP.
It's like ESP on steroids almost. Like if you were to have 10 let's say 10 circular miles of just feeling things, and your average footage of a mile is it's like 5,200 feet.
A mile is 5,284 feet.
Yeah. So to round 5,200 times 10.
Which is stupid. We should just be on the metric system.
52,000 square footage of danger, and he feels all of it around him. That would give me a fucking headache too. Like, it makes sense. Like, you actually got to see him go, there's literally danger everywhere. How do I deal with this? Which is why he went up to these like wood spirits or planet spheres. I'm like, y'all need to make this stop. I'm freaking out right now.
Right. And that whole thing too was sort of, and I just watched Stranger Things season 2. I don't know if have you seen any of that yet?
I've gotten up to I think episode 7.
Okay. So I don't want to really spoil anything for any of you guys in the chat or anyone watching, but the thing with the spirit or whatever they are.
Demogorgon type shadow monster.
Yeah, exactly. It reminded me a little bit of the shadow monster taking like moving in on will.
So it's like a now memory type of deal.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. We don't know exactly what they did to Saru, like whether they just kind of like freed his mind and allowed him to see things differently, or if they actually moved in on him.
Brian has a better analogy of it, where it's like, so he's Deanna Troi, empath who can feel bad guys. Yeah, that kind
of makes sense.
That's basically what it is. It's a evil guy. It's like D&D, and you're a paladin, and you can detect evil, but like 10 miles away, basically, which is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like his character, we saw him kind of brainwashed, I guess is the better term.
Adjusted.
Well, no, it's kind of confusing in the sense
because we don't know exactly what they did. It wasn't necessarily brainwashing.
Well, no, the thing is, I understand it. Well, no, I understand it completely. The thing is, you have Saru, who he's not an apex predator. He's the bottom of the food chain of his planet. To the point where he's evolved to look at danger 10 miles away. He's basically an antelope of his planet. Which is really fascinating because we're not used to seeing people at the bottom of the food chain in Star Trek. And so what ends up happening is this is the first time he's known the concept of true peace, true harmony, where it's like nothing bad is ever going to happen to me on this planet. So he wasn't even brainwashed. He understood what this planet meant. And to him, it's like, I never have to worry about a single thing on this planet while I'm here. He didn't even have to be brainwashed. He just understood the concept of complete peace, and he was like, we need to spread this to the entire galaxy.
Now, see, the other thing is it what, like, I'm really interested in what's going on with the planet too. So, like, as far as like these creatures on the planet, how, you know, like how Is it like on with the Navi with like how like those things
It's
like
like
float
it's
down,
like
or is it more like the Living Planet from was it the Green Lanterns?
it's basically a living planet. It's one massive organism. That the thing is, they're all different species and everything else, but they all act like a hive mind basically. And
But I mean, we only saw the glowing thing. Like we didn't see any other creatures on
sure,
the planet.
but they explain where it's like every organism here has gotten together and said, "Fuck hate, we're gonna be peaceful and absolute harmony." The thing is, they can't balance harmony without having each and every species going, "Okay, we're on board."
Oh, so stress-free K, they assimilated Saru into the neural network of the planet.
Sort of. No, it definitely has a
He was kind of tapped into it.
yeah, no, it's definitely a type of Navi type of feel from Avatar, but at the same time, it's kind of their own spin where it's like we've already figured it out.
Right, because this crystal transmitter thing kind of reminded me a little bit about the life tree.
Right.
But see that's another thing. Whereas it's just this giant crystal that's a communications device. So how does that work?
The thing is, the transmitter was almost like a third level plot line. No one gave a shit about that transmitter until the end. And the thing is, like this planet, it only knows harmony, it only knows peace, and so it actually turned into such a problem where now you.
Well, it's not that it only knows harmony and peace. Its goal in life is to create harmony and peace.
Right. And what ends up happening is they said, you know what, we're such, good guy Steve types. We're going to bring in your enemy, and you guys are going to talk it out right here. Not even understanding what the Klingons are about. Even though they saw it in his brain bucket. They saw the war.
Right. Well, I mean, we still need to see what the after effects on Saru are going to be now that they've taken him away from the planet. Because I mean, we saw him lying in the med bay and not being right. So the question is, since they brought the Klingons there, with using their transmitter thing, was their goal just to have them talk in space, or was their goal to have them like basically transported down to the planet and infect both of them?
Well, you have this transmitter that I don't know how far it goes, but it seems to be almost galactic. It's a giant beacon saying, come hang out with us, and they explain that in the beginning, like they want to be seen by the galaxy, and so like even the Klingons are like, it's an invitation, so they're gonna come in, and we're gonna see this kind of battle take place. I don't think the Parvos is that how you say it?
Pavos.
The Pavos don't understand the context of the war, and they don't understand the Klingons. They only know one side of this battle. And so, even with looking into the brain bucket, they still believe that they can resolve differences, even though that's obviously not the case. Even in the next episode,
but see, here's my point, and maybe I missed this, but the entire point of them going to this planet in the first place was to learn about the Klingons' cloaking technology. So why were they going to this planet to learn about the cloaking technology? Like, what was on this planet that led them to find the cloaking technology?
I'm not entirely sure because I kind of missed it myself.
So if you guys,
it was such a footnote. It was such a footnote.
Yeah. So I mean, that had to be in the beginning of the episode, someplace where I possibly missed it.
Stress-free K says crystals are known for harnessing energy, so Berman thought they had to protect the planet, but the crystal transmission is going to shoot the entire energy of the planet against the Klingons. I mean, it makes sense. I could see that happening in the next episode. But anyway, I don't want to spend we have so much to cover, and I don't want to spend too much time on this planet. We saw a little bit of first contact rules. Not necessarily, I wouldn't say necessarily prime directive. But
well, I mean, it was kind of a little bit of both, because they were first talking about Rule 1, which is where the prime directive kind of comes from.
Right.
And then after that, they were like, okay, well, we know these are sentient creatures, so now we're on to first contact.
Well, that is it. Like, first contact, they were like, hey, we can't... Basically, because Saru was kind of sitting there going, I'm going to kind of force my way in as an interpreter. And they're just like, is he supposed to do that? No, he's not supposed to do that. Everything requires consent.
Right. But, I mean, he could... I think where they were coming from with that was the fact that they already had this transmitter on the planet that was of a higher technological power than they knew of. So they assumed that the residents of this planet, these energy creatures, whatever they were of a technological level that they were allowed to communicate with them based on the laws of the Federation.
Right. And the thing is, for the most part, I want to say they kind of worked into most of the Prime Directive. They worked most into First Contact rules, barring a couple of things. Was hey, you can't do that. But I mean,
But then they logicked that stuff away. They were like, well, now we did.
yeah, and I don't like. I find it more interesting when they're able to work within the laws than when they're like, screw the rules, we're gonna do it our way.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like Star Trek has a history of being like, okay, we gotta follow the rules. We gotta follow the rules.
We gotta follow the rules.
Only until we don't have to follow the rules.
We'll follow the rules, but then this happens, so then we gotta fix everything.
It's always let's follow the rules until we can find a way to work around them.
And then let's see what else we have. Ty and Michael did the sex. Not really.
They got interrupted.
They were gonna do the sex, and then they got interrupted. How do you feel about the relationship between Ty and Michael so far?
I can kind of understand it because they were both. They were both. Ash was held prisoner for 7 months, and so that's going to create some issues. Like within yourself, and obviously. Michael Burnham has her own issues that she's dealing with. So the two of them kind of linking up makes sense. And I appreciate that it's not taking over like the episode. That that's not a central plot point. It's just that here's a thing that's happening. Let's focus on it for like a minute or two just to have that there. So
you think it's subtle enough for it not to be just like a major issue?
Yeah. Because like I don't mind relationship like love stories or whatever, or relationship stories in the shows that I watch. I just don't like when that's made the central point and everything else that the show has been dealing with is now secondary to this other issue.
Well, I mean, it depends. Yes,
because like if you watch like the DC shows on the CW, they're CW shows, so of course all the relationship stuff is going to be the primary function of the show, and then all the superhero stuff is kind of a secondary to that. And for me, after a while, it's just like, okay, I get it. We've dealt with this before.
Well, I mean, I guess the main question is, does it pass the Bechdel test? The Bechdel test. Does it pass the Bechdel test? At the moment,
no, it does. It totally is.
Does it?
Yeah. How often is Michael Burnham talking about a relationship?
I mean, last episode was all of that.
The last episode was, but out of the 8 episodes that we've seen so far, out of all those episodes, when Burnham is talking with another female on the ship, how often is it about her relationship with Ash? How often are the guys talking about their relationships with other women? The show is not focusing on the relationship aspect of it at all, and that's what the Bechdel test is whether or not when a female is on screen talking, if all she's talking about is another guy or her relationship or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it totally passes.
Okay. Yes, like the thing is, I'm worried that it's going. Like, I'm not gonna worry that it's gonna consume the Star Trek series. I don't feel like that's gonna be a thing, but I feel like there's gonna be episodes that are solely reliant on the relationship. Like the thing is, like we saw this time loop thing. It was kind of mostly about their relationship. I don't want to see many more episodes about that.
So just to clarify, the Bechdel test, it's mainly for movies. But you could translate it over to TV as well. There are 3 rules. The movie to pass the Bechdel test, the movie has to have at least 2 women in it.
Ding.
We've got more than 2 women in this show. They talk to each other.
Ding.
That happens. And they talk to each other. And number 3, they have to be talking to each other about something other than a man.
Okay. So it easily
it clearly passes the Bechdel test.
Okay. Like I could have swore I heard like more or less 50% of the time like something. But,
no.
Okay. Moving through, let's see, what do we got here? I want to talk about the Klingons a bit because we had a lot of Klingon development here.
We haven't really talked about them much this episode. And they weren't really a central part of the episode, but
bullshit.
But they were
a very central part.
They weren't the Klingon stuff was the B storyline.
Well, that's like in straight up like not like truncated quotes. I wish to defect like. First off, I called this way in the beginning. Like, you speak English, you're going to be so in the middle of things. And sure enough, she was like, I wish to defect. And I saw that, like, episode 3 or 4 when she first started doing shit.
Yeah, but I mean, was that really what she was doing?
Was she Here's the thing.
I don't think so.
No,
because I mean, clearly at the end.
Did you miss what happened at the end? She it's very clear that she's like, I'm gonna take you. We're gonna bounce out. I need protection, and if you guys don't have a death penalty, fuck it, I don't care. So she was trying to get her out. She got caught, so she zapped her. I guess knocked her. She doesn't look dead.
Right. Yeah. It was a fake out attack.
Yeah. It was a faked attack, and then on top of that, she found a lot of her Klingon house dead. Is what it looks like, just hanging out dead. I don't know why that was a thing. And then she comes back to main dude, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know you're gonna be a great interrogator." And then all of a sudden, it's like, "By the way, I know you tried to leave, motherfucker." And then she got dragged away, and it's like,
yeah.
The thing is, Klingon...
But it seemed like at first... But see, I don't know. Because it seemed like at first she was trying to say that she was doing that on purpose. Which, I mean, that is a pretty clever,
but that's just
tactic.
Klingons do one thing really, really well. And that's weaving. Like the weaving of the lies, the deceit, the intrigue.
Right.
That's something that has been a very consistent factor between TOS and current.
Right. And also... Brian brought up a good point that she also found the bodies of all the other house leaders. So there's possibly something else going on here altogether too.
Right, and the thing is, you have these dead Klingons from various houses. It sounds like there's a coup going on where it's like all the great houses leaders fall, and the only person to turn to is this dude who has the cloaking technology. Which, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. And she's like, "Oh, I see what's going on here. Fuck this nonsense." But I have to work within his system. Even though she got caught, and so it's such a weird. She's in a weird position right now where it's like, it looks like she's going to have to work for this guy, but also know that at the same time, at the end of all this, she's gonna get killed.
Yeah, it's more like indentured servitude at this point.
Yeah, no, at this point in time, she's living to survive. She's in a survival mode at the moment, and really, I keep saying this, like, back to the Klingon factor in the show in the first season. There's so much going on with the Klingons, more than I could possibly ask for, really, in a Star Trek. Series.
They're really deep diving into the Klingon stuff.
Well, yeah, because beyond, if you look at all the different aliens in the Star Trek universe, there's only 3 that really, really matter, and that's the Federation, the Klingon, and the Romulans.
I mean, it depends on the series that you're watching. Because I mean,
I'm sorry, Vulcans.
I mean, as far as the good guys, so to speak. But I mean, the Kardashians are clearly a big.
The Kardashians.
The Kardashians.
The Kardashians.
Kardashians.
The Cardassians.
Kardashians are clearly a big role.
I told you to get that ass.
In the in DS9. I mean, because that's a huge thing.
Sure.
They even started to pop up in the next generation.
Well, sure. Like DS9 Voyager had an extension with the Cardassians, the Ferengis, and a bunch of other
Voyager didn't have anything with the Cardassians.
Well, no.
The Ferengis showed up like once. Voyager, I feel like, was like its own kind of separate thing because everything that they were dealing with was separate. Like the Dominion War, all that kind of stuff. That was past them.
But that's what I'm saying. Other than
hey, Larry.
Stop, Larry. The thing is, there's a few groups we've actually dived really deep into. Q being one of them. I mean, we kind of did
that's true. Yeah, no, actually, in Voyager, there was a lot with the Q. Like, we learned about their Civil War, Q and other Q had a baby Q.
Sure. We have the Q, we have the Borg, we have sort of the Ferengis, we have sort of the Cardassians, we have the Romulans, we have the Vulcans, and we have
the Breen.
The Breen. The Klingon.
Gorn.
And the majority. The
Majorans.
Yes. And so, like, we do have certain, I wouldn't say deep dives, but maybe like medium dives. This is the first time where we have a basically an arc season series almost that deals entirely with one single race.
Oh, yeah.
And that does fascinate me because it's about time we've seen Klingons in a deep dive because we've been dealing with the J.J. Abrams universe, and as far as we know,
we kind of saw the Klingons there.
No, we didn't even kind of. We did. We saw them as kill them kind of.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of.
They threw them away in the J.J. Abrams series, and people were pissed. I'm pissed. I'm still pissed that the Klingons were thrown away in the J.J. Abrams universe.
Yeah, yeah.
And so seeing them here in the
Oh, Brian, you're right. I completely forgot about Seska being a Cardassian mole at the beginning. But I mean, even that was Voyager for me. That first season was just so bizarre. I just for a second I want to talk about Voyager
do
because
you think?
Chakotay, like, he changed like drastically from the very first episode, like, and then like by episode 6 or 7 he was like, all about the Federation rules. Like he became very much like that serviceman.
But the question is, did it make sense for his art to be that way?
I mean, it made sense for him to go in that direction, definitely, but not that quick. Like it just happened really fast for me.
Okay. And as far as so she got caught. What my going back to the Klingons. What do you think is going to happen to her now that she's been caught?
Um,
And I guess a better question is we saw this whole ritual where he's got like some red type of blood, like I would say blood, but like
some kind of paint,
some kind of paint.
some kind of, like, face war
like
paint
does
type
the
thing.
whole like ritual, and then it's like, by the way, I know you're a fucking liar. Take her away. I mean, what do you think is gonna happen to her next?
I don't know. I mean, I would assume that she's probably gonna be sent on some kind of mission that could be like a suicide mission of some point, like just to prove her worth and her value. Or if she dies, then they're gonna be like, all right, cool. So she's dead. Now we don't have to worry about her anymore.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like with the Klingon Empire, they've always kind of been relatively based kind of as a misogynistic culture. Other than the twin sisters we see in the movies, I think.
I don't know, because I mean there's the girls there's the women from the movies. There's the women that were definitely on TNG. There was the episode where Riker went over and like they had like the the student exchange type thing where Riker went over to serve.
That's like my favorite
serve on the
episode.
ship, and there were the women on that ship, and they weren't treated any differently than the guys that were there.
True. Okay, so in this particular universe, so we kind of have a sense of, I feel like a misogynistic vibe going on because she's the only female we know at the moment in this universe, other than literally anyone else in the Klingon Empire. So it's like, do you think that there's a misogynistic aspect in the Klingon Empire at this current date and time?
I'm gonna say probably not, but if there is, it's very minimal because otherwise they wanted to put her in control of anything in the first place.
Well,
and I mean we've seen other female Klingons that were in charge of things, so yeah, so I don't think so.
Well, sure, but at the same time, it's like, why does she specifically have to prove herself? Like, and the thing is,
I'm gonna say it's more because of her actions, because Lorca and Ash escaped while they were under her supervision, so I'm gonna say this is more punishment.
Okay.
I mean, I might be wrong, but
well, that's just it. Like,
that's how it came across to me.
But I mean, she didn't. I mean, there's a lot of things that we don't know. Like, did she say that she captured Lorca? Did they like bring it to the Prime dude who's working?
Right. How much of what happened there did she share with
exactly?
Everyone else?
Like, and the thing is, you saw this in the beginning where it's like she's got this scar on her face. Like, well, where did you get that? She's like, I fought in war. I fought an enemy. And he's like, well, I want to have a scar like that because that's how Klingons are. But she didn't necessarily go into how that happened. They don't necessarily know they have Lorca from Discovery. Otherwise, she probably actually ended up being dead.
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
What else to talk about this episode? So, next episode we have a big giant Klingon. Like we saw the next episode. Highlights.
There's going to be a battle next episode.
Big giant battle. They're like, because it's the mid-season, they're going to throw everything that they can at it. Which, I mean, we actually don't even know that because it wasn't even supposed to be the mid-season. What do you think is going to happen next episode?
I think that it's not at some point during this big battle, the creatures from the planet are going to intervene in one way or another.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to end well.
For who?
The creatures on the planet. I'm going to say that giant transmitter crystal thing is probably going to get destroyed.
It's going to get destroyed, but will that necessarily harm the planet irreparably?
It depends on how integrated with the planet it is, and what these creatures actually use it specifically for. Because if that's how they communicate with each other is because of that crystal thing, then yeah, that's gonna fuck them up.
Okay. And then on top of kind of because we're talking about the same thing kind of here, so this is the first time we actually saw the female commander that got captured. First time we've seen her in like 2 episodes.
Yeah, because we haven't seen her since she got captured.
Right. And so like I know we didn't really talk about her much. I don't want to say she's a footnote, but at the same time, like, where do you think she's going to go from here?
I mean, obviously she's still gonna be captured for a while. Unless she's on although she is on one of the ships that is now in the same space as the Discovery. So if they find out that she's there, they could very well mount a rescue mission for her. Because we did see that Ash and one of the other crew members were getting in position to be transported to, I'm assuming, one of those ships, or either to one of those ships or to the planet's surface. So it's possible that if they were going to one of the other ships, that they were going to rescue the Admiral.
Do you think... I have a far-flung theory, if you will. And I've been pretty good about my theories this season. We have this female Klingon who can speak English. She wants to defect. I think that she's going to actually end up as eventually a crew member on Discovery.
I don't think so.
The thing is, she wants out. She's already said, I want out. And she's going to great lengths to doing that.
I think if she does manage to get out instead of getting dead, I think that Starfleet's going to take her. I don't think she'd become a crew member.
But Starfleet would, Lorca wouldn't. That's it. Lorca still has the power to conscript anyone he fucking feels necessary.
Yeah, I don't know that he has that much power.
Here's what's going to happen. If she ends up on the Discovery, Lorca's going to go, you're useful. Tell me everything about your culture, and you can stay here. And then, like, the Starfleet's like, are you fucking crazy? That's a Klingon.
Yeah, I don't. The only reason I don't think that's going to happen is I'm pretty sure it is canon that Worf was the first Klingon to serve Starfleet. So if he conscripts her, that would make her the first Klingon to serve Starfleet.
The thing is, when it comes to time of war, technically speaking... Because here's the thing, Michael Burnham's already kind of under the radar for the Federation. They're like, we don't acknowledge this at all. This is a very secret thing. She's
not an officer, but she's still in Starfleet.
Well, this is it. Like I don't think she would end up as an officer, obviously, but I do think that she would end up as a crew member of Discovery, and her name would never fucking be known. Would never be known.
I don't buy it.
I think it could, like, because the thing is, you can't kill her. She's literally the only Klingon who speaks English. That we know of. That we know of. Which means that at this point in time, she's literally unkillable in the series. But at the same time, she can't stay where she's at. At some point in time, she has to push to the Federation. The Federation can't fucking murder her because that's not... They even said death penalty, we don't...
Yeah, they would take her prisoner. They would probably interrogate her and get all the information that they can out of her. But, I mean, as far as the other Klingons speaking English, we've only seen the other Klingons speaking to each other.
Lorca's the kind of person who will see the asset nature of anybody. And the thing is, I think Lorca's going to be like, pick you up and put you right there. Like, it's gonna happen. Give it. I would almost say that would be the cliffhanger of the first season.
Let's make a bet.
Oh, we're gonna make a bet. Okay.
So if you're right,
if I'm right, well, actually, no, you go first.
All right. So if you're wrong, you have to. I don't really know that it's going to be punishment, but you have to watch all the Star Trek movies. Or no. Okay, I got it. If you're wrong, you have to watch the entirety of Star Trek the Animated Series and write a review for the website.
Oh, you fucking asshole. Okay, so if you're wrong, you have to watch Star Wars Episode 1, and you have to write an absolutely glowing, positive review about it, no matter how bad it fucking is.
Oh, I can do that easy.
That's a fucking line, you know it.
That's easy. I lie every day.
Okay, so the bet is, I think female Klingon is eventually going to join. I'm not.
Now, are we saying by the end? We're saying by the end of the season or by the end of the series?
I'm going to say by the end of the series.
By the end of the series.
By the end of the series, she will be on.
I mean, that could be a while.
That's fine. I have all fucking day. The thing is,
okay.
At the end of the series, I think she will eventually be on the Discovery or part of the Federation some way, shape, or form.
I think she's going to be dead.
So that's the bet. He has to write about episode 1 in a positive light on that #show.com. And me, I have to watch the entirety of
Star Trek, the animated series.
Tell you what, because that's so much, I'm going to say season 1 of it, and I have to write a glowing review about it.
Okay.
Cool. We got the bet right
that.
here. You heard it first. If it happens, it's going down. It's going down.
Yeah, we got to shake on this?
We're going to shake on it. You see it here, shaking on it. Don't give any fucks. So, okay, so we're gonna close this up a little bit. What do you? I'm just gonna throw out there. I know we've already kind of talked a little bit about it, but next episode, any other tidbits?
I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much everything that I was aware of going into the next episode. I mean, we do know also that there's going to be more with Stamets because we saw a couple of clips with his doctor boyfriend.
He's going to be an A-B plotline for very many episodes still. Like, until he dies, goes away, becomes the Q. Who knows what he's going to do? End up in the mirror universe somewhere.
Yeah, oh man, like that's what I want to know is when we're actually going to see the mirror universe. Because we've only got...
Second half.
I mean, it's not going to be in the next
half.
episode. Yeah, so it's going to be one of the last 6 episodes. And how's that going to play in?
Well...
Like, I'm really interested in that.
My guess is I feel like the spore drive is going to get overloaded, and it's going to be stuck in the middle of warping, sort of, and it end up in the mirror universe as a result.
Well, I think it's going to have to do with Stamets. Like, I think
Sure.
I think something's going to happen with him, just because of everything that's going on with him, and he's going to accidentally warp them to the mirror universe instead of wherever their final destination was.
Like, what's going to happen is you're going to have this mirror universe, and I think you're going to have 2 Stamets because of the uncertainty factor of time. One, basically a quantum Stamets, where you have one who's this happy-go-lucky and this dickbag McGee that we know from the first episode, and they're going to fight it out.
I don't think we're going to see them in the same place because generally when at least in Trek history, as far as I can remember, everyone who's gone to the mirror universe, their doppelganger from the mirror universe has switched over to the prime universe, right?
I think so.
So it would be the Stamets switch. So maybe that's what happens. Maybe it's just Stamets that switches,
right?
And the rest of the crew have to figure out how to get over to the mirror universe to get him back.
Maybe. Brian Zinchuk said spore drive has to disappear at some point, which is actually something we've actually said in the very second episode.
Yeah,
it has to go away. It's
it does.
Too powerful.
I just don't know if it's going to be before the end of the series. I'm going to say it's before the series ends.
It will be before the series ends, but I think the spore drive is going to be an active participant in the majority of the series.
I think it'll go up. If it doesn't go away before the end of the season, it'll probably go away next season.
Well, I don't think it's going to go away because they need this to win the war. And if the spore drive is the number one thing that wins the war, eventually they got to find something that's so unsustainable, so horrific that they can't possibly use it in the TOS universe.
Right.
Which it will take the whole series.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we see what's going on with Stamets, so we know that's causing some kind of effect on him. So I think it's safe to assume that they don't figure out how to not have that happen, which is why it doesn't get used.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up for today. Where can we find you?
You can find me right here on the Star Trek Show every week that Star Trek is live. We're still kind of trying to figure out what we're going to do after next week when Orville is away for a few weeks. You want to see the Orville.
Orville.
I'm still working on those details. But you can also find me behind the camera doing stuff over at that #show on YouTube. Every once in a while, I will write articles on that #show.com. You can also find me on Twitter at the Goldman. You can find Pop Culture Renegades on Twitter at PC Renegades. What about you?
You can find me at Twitter at SlammySammyLock. You can find me at Instagram at SlammySammyLock. You can find me on the Book of Faces at SammyLock. You can find me on YouTube at Steam Bunny Productions, where I do comedy stuff sometimes. You can find me at the Twitch, where I do video game stuff sometimes at that #show. And I do #show stuff every once in a while. I'm probably going to be doing some other stuff soon with them. Just hang out. I don't know if we can...
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
The thing?
The thing?
The thing, not yet.
Not the thing we just talked about, like...
Nope, not yet.
With the public domain and everything?
Yeah, because we don't know what we're doing with that yet.
Okay, so we have a thing that I'm not allowed to talk about yet. I'm going to assume I can talk about it next week, but by that time we'll have everything sorted out. And then, as far as Achievement Unlocked, we're still on hiatus for that at the moment.
But you're going to be going on Twitch, right?
I will be going on Twitch, hopefully next week. Sorry that I haven't been on it this week. I've been kind of stuck in editing bay hell because I do editing on the side.
I was gonna do some Twitch stuff from my Twitch because I got access to the Sea of Thieves alpha, but apparently they changed their mind. We can't stream it.
Needless to say, you can find us everywhere you can find Pop Culture Renegades and hashtag show's gotta be.
If you like what we're doing here with this show, make sure to subscribe to Pop Culture Renegades.
Yes, please subscribe, like, share it with your fucking friends.
In addition to us, if you like Power Rangers, you may like Kamen Rider, which is another show. They were out today. There was no new episode, but next week they will be back with the next new episode of Kamen Rider. And after we go off the air and we're done, please come into the comments. Leave your comments about the episode. We will address them next week. And let us know what other sci-fi shows or supernatural shows you want us to cover, because we're looking to add more shows to our lineup. So anything that's coming in 2018, let us know what you guys want to see.
Jezzer says I talk really fast.
You do talk really fast.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, actually?
Yeah.
I will attempt to slow things down for you. Sorry. With that being said, thank you guys for watching the Riker Maneuver. We'll be back next week with the season finale, and then the next week we're gonna do a special show about the mid-series as a whole, and see if it's still worth watching in the second half. Again, thank you for watching the Riker Maneuver, and everyone here at PCR
Pop Culture Renegades.
Pop Culture Renegades.
Pop Culture Renegades.
Have a good night,
Bye,
guys.
guys.